Deep within me now is a sacred space, and to God I bow for this healing of grace. Deep within me now is a sacred space, and to God I bow for this gift of grace. Deep within me now is a sacred space, and to God I bow for this healing of grace. As I was sitting here beside our speaker, I wanted to pinch myself because as if I cannot believe that this will ever come today. Why? Because it is as though I am still in his class, he being my professor when I was studying in Rome. We've spent like 10 months together, but much more than that, the Lord has gifted me with opportunities not only to be in his class, but also to sit with him in one of the Zen retreat here in Antipolo, and we had the opportunity to sit with Sister Menchi and with the group, but also to sit with him in the house of Father Willie Gishager. So we were together also in Germany. I'm very happy to present to you a man who has helped me in many, many ways, especially in the direction of the congregation. A person who is not only a friend, but also some kind of a spiritual advisor for all the work we are doing and we have been doing as a congregation. So, for some of you who have been with me during pilgrimages abroad, you would notice that sometimes I would allow you to go home ahead of me while I stay back and I will go to Ireland and there attend his retreats on Julian of Norwich or pottery retreat and all those things. I am very much indebted to Father Donagh At Mh for the many work he has done and for the many blessings he has given our congregation. And much more than that, I would like to say thank you because he has given us a textbook in the book 100 Roads to Heal. I hope you have started reading that, and hopefully in time we are going to really use that every time we have a sit, maybe read a section so that we can get insight and inspiration from that book. Without much ado, Father Donagh At Mh, OP, Dominican.
So good afternoon. I feel very privileged to be here in this holy place among so many people who have been practicing meditation, contemplation for years. It's a privilege to be here, and it's a very reassuring thing to come from the far side of the planet and to discover that here, of course, we invoke the same Father, Son and Holy Spirit and have the same interest in contemplation. I'm very aware too of all the invisible presences that are here. I have no idea how many there might be, but as in every event in the Philippines, I'm sure it's a huge number. 10,000 people and more visit Regina Rica every Sunday. I was reeling, hardly able to stand up straight when I heard that word, that figure at the beginning. So it shows that you really have the spirit of contemplation, you have the thirst for it, which is the essence of it, really. And it's something so simple, as you know, that talking is dangerous. We could just dispel the silence and the stillness that you have already. Talking could be just a kind of agitation. So I hope that anything I say will be helpful rather than harmful. Contemplation is not some kind of science where somebody knows all about it and the other people don't. It's not like that at all. In fact, there's nothing to know in this sense that it's not about information, or it's not even about intellectual understanding of some topic. It's about returning to the space that is sacred in all of us. Everything is sacred, but this place of consciousness where we are in touch directly with God. So it's experience rather than some kind of science or some kind of knowledge. And I always remember that St. Thomas Aquinas said about his own theology that the simplest little old person could know God better than the most learned theologian. It shows how profoundly rooted he was in contemplation, that he wasn't impressed by talk and by theories and the like, which have their use, but not here, not when it comes to the deepest thing. The deepest thing is silence. The challenge in contemplation is to cope with such a busy mind, such a busy thing as a human mind. It is really the most agitated piece of real estate in creation, I'm sure, because there are constantly thoughts and feelings and memories and hopes and bits of anger and fear, and all the 7 deadly things are flitting like traffic past the front of your mind. And it's very hard to find peace and quiet when that is happening. And then when we look around the world, my goodness, the world today is so divided, and there is such a cult of mendacity, of telling lies until in the hope that they will become the truth. It's such a disturbing time to be alive, and we look at all the wars that are happening, and it horrifies people when they see the harm that human beings do to one another. At the end of what they call the Great War, as if war could ever be great, that was 1914 to 1918, they said, never again. It was the war to end all wars, they said. 20 years later, there was another one. The Second World War, unmatched for its brutality. So we are a very dangerous species, and to meet gentle, peaceful, contemplative human beings, it's a wonderful thing. And to spread, if we can, that possibility of peace is surely the greatest thing that we can do. Because human beings are capable of everything. We're capable of the worst and the best, capable of immense brutality and cruelty, and also of remarkable gentleness and tenderness. We are capable of everything. So when we sit on our cushions, we know that, and we come with no illusions about ourselves. We know from experience that, you know, you have been, you've been invaded by all the deadly things that that can pass through a human mind. And still you hope and you believe, and now you know from experience that deeper than all that stuff is a great peace. A peace the world cannot give. Shalom. Just an image that might help. I think of all that stuff that goes on in the mind as traffic. I find that word helpful to use, just to have an image of traffic. See, what traffic does is that it passes. You don't run out to the street and say, stop, stop, stopping every car and truck and tricycle that passes. You let them pass. So the same with the traffic in our mind. The wisdom is to let it pass. It won't stop unless you stop it. That's the only good thing about it. It moves. Traffic moves. Mental traffic too moves unless you stop it. You can stop it and you start engaging with it and connecting it with something else and something else and something else. And in a short time, you are in a different place. Your mind has run away. So if you just let it pass and don't engage with it, don't hook up one thought to another, let them just go their way. You can be aware of them and just let them pass. Because it's impossible to keep them out. I lived in Rome for, I think, a total of about 9 years. And it must be one of the noisiest cities in the world. And the place where I was living in Rome was maybe the noisiest part of Rome. It was the old city and near the Colosseum. And there were 4 busy roads, one on every side. And day and night the traffic was screaming back and forth along those streets. And trams and buses and cars and motorbikes. Welcome. When I went there the first night that I tried to sleep in that house, it was impossible. The noise was so intrusive. And of course the second night I was a bit tired, needed sleep. And I slept the whole night, and from that moment on, I never heard the traffic anymore. Because if you don't engage with it, it doesn't bother you. The sound comes into your room. You couldn't possibly keep it out, even with double glazing. Triple glazing, they say, will keep out a lot of it, but it's impossible to keep it all out. It comes into your room, and it comes into your head from both sides, and out again. And it doesn't bother you. You're not even aware that you're hearing it, because you have not engaged with it. And that's something you learn from living on a busy street. So the very same experience of when you live in a human mind, because that's traffic as well. Several rows of it in each direction. And you just let it pass. And you hold your peace. You could describe contemplation as holding your peace or keeping your station. You can have some very settling phrases of your own, favorite ones perhaps, that help you in that posture. Because a posture isn't only a physical posture, it's a mental and psychological posture as well. You say, I'm sitting here. That's why they always encourage you to sit upright, to keep your back in a good curve, the natural curve of your back, to say, I'm not being blown away. I'm not being blown out of my position. I'm standing, I'm sitting here, and I'm letting the weather pass. Let the storms pass. I heard somebody saying once, sit as if you were a mountain. A mountain is very squat. It's this shape. It's impossible to push it over. You can't push it over. And all the weather of the world can blow over it, and it just lets it pass. So you're like a mountain in a sense. A very gentle, wise, tender mountain. You're not tough like a rock. You don't have to be like a rock. If you meet a human being that is trying to imitate a rock, turn around quickly and go the other way. So we are tender creatures by nature. Even the toughest looking person deep inside is like a baby. And I remember many years ago when I was living in a Zen monastery in America. The Zen master was Daido Lori, and you got to meet him sometimes, you know, for a one-to-one. And I had been there for a while, and I was very dejected because I felt I was making no progress. Anything you take up gives you grounds for hoping, at least, that you'll make progress after a while. So I'm making no progress. And I went in and one day, and I said to him, I feel like a baby, you know, that I know nothing, and I've no strength to do anything. And he said, good. He said, that's the best place to be in. Feel like a baby. Don't feel that you're competent and capable and now you know all about it and you can do it. No, if you can feel like a baby, you're helpless. That's the best place to be, because you're not manipulating anything. If you feel helpless, you're not manipulating anything, and you're not sitting on any throne, any podium up there, discoursing on things, describing the world. No, you're helpless. You're like, what's it all about? And in Germany, I remember when I was there with Epi many years ago, Williges Jäger was very generous with his time, his one-to-one time. You could have 2 Doksan sessions in one day, you remember? And I had been there about 3 weeks at that stage, and we used to sit 9 hours a day, remember? And after 3 weeks, I felt entitled to feel that I was making progress or something. I was getting better at this. So, and I felt I wasn't. So I went in to him one day, and like these Zen masters, sitting on the ground on a cushion, and you queue up outside, and when you hear the gong inside, that's a signal for you to go in. It's equally a signal for the person who's sitting in front of him, your predecessor, to leave. And the two of you bow together. It's very beautifully choreographed. And then the other goes out, and now you're in the hot seat. And he expects you to say something to start, you know. And I said, I'm making no progress. I've been here 3 weeks and I'm making no progress. And he looked at me as if I had 2 heads on me, and he said, I'll never forget these 3 phrases. If you gave me a talk for half an hour, like I'm giving you now, you forget everything, just as you will forget everything I'm saying. But he just said 3 phrases, and I'll never forget them. It's as if they're branded in my brain. He said, first of all, I said, I'm making no progress. And he said, there is no progress. There's nowhere to go. There's no distance. And then he banged his gong, which means out. Go back to the wall, facing the wall for another 9 hours, and see if anything penetrates here. That it's not a project. It's not some kind of accomplishment, something that will make you feel, oh, I'm better at this now. No. If there's anything progress, it could be kind of backwards from that kind of thinking, where you feel, here I am. Here I am as I am. This is me. This is the package. And any projects I have to improve myself will certainly backfire. The way to get rid of your faults is to try to get rid of them. I'll repeat that. The way to get rid of your faults is not to try to get rid of them. Well, that would sound like heresy to a lot of people. But you know, if I have a project about how I'm going to improve myself and get rid of this fault and acquire something else, that's my ego trying to improve me. That's my ego trying to improve my ego. Instead, if I can experience deep silence and helplessness even for a moment, I'll discover later on that things have been solving themselves. The fruit of meditation or contemplation doesn't show itself immediately. It's not as if a bright light goes on over your head and you say, I have it, I got it now. That might be a kind of pictorial version of what happens, but it doesn't happen that way. What usually happens is that you just sit there in pure fidelity. Nothing but fidelity just keeps you there. You say, I'll do this practice even if the sky falls. I won't make it depend on how I feel. I'll just do it anyway, because it's not an ego project. It comes from a deeper place than that. So I'll do it anyway. And you do it, and then the next day you do it again, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it again. And after a while you lose interest in whether you're making any progress. You say, this is just something I do. Like scrubbing your teeth in the morning, you meditate as well, sit as well. And then you discover that there were things that used to bother you before and that don't bother you now. How is that? And you can't explain how. And you don't need to explain how. And there's no need. And it's better not to explain how. Contemplation does its work silently, with no advertising, nothing. It solves problems. Problems of a certain kind. It won't solve every kind of problem, like if you have a financial problem, or if you have a lawsuit coming up or something. No, but problems of entanglement. Meditation, contemplation solves those by itself. And the more you interfere with it, the more impossible it becomes. Just don't interfere with it. Just trust God to say, I know you can heal me, and you don't have to announce it in advance. Doesn't anyway. But something beautiful happens in the lives of people who meditate constantly, who contemplate. How much time have we, Epi? More?
More, please.
Yeah.
You're not here every day.
Yes, but I don't want to drive everybody else away, though, just on my one visit. Yes, it's about being patient and not trying to manipulate change in oneself. It's about putting oneself in a very vulnerable place. And people typically sit down when they meditate, but in fact you could meditate in any posture you like. If you meditate lying down, there's an increased chance that you'll fall asleep. But you could meditate lying down too, or walking, as you do here. Walking seems like a process that isn't very interesting. Even cats and dogs walk, And we have only 2 legs. Millipedes, centipedes have 100, much more interesting process, I'm sure, for a millipede to walk than for us. So it's a very humble thing to do, is to walk. And you wouldn't say to somebody who asked you what you were doing all day, say, I was walking. I spent half an hour walking. And say, oh, where were you going? What were you doing? Nothing. I was walking around in a circle. and they would say, you must be crazy. Because we are so transactional in our life normally. We go places in order to do something or bring something back. But if you're just walking for the sake of walking, that's one thing we do better than babies. And as you put your foot down on the ground, think of it as a kind of earthing, like an electrical earthing of all the static in your brain. Down, your foot, and then slowly the next foot down. It's like clearing, allowing this space to clear itself. The feet are the lowest part of the body. And for that reason, I always think they're the most truthful. They're the farthest from the mouth. With the mouth you tell all the lies. The feet will often betray a liar. You see their feet twitching. Yeah, they're telling lies. Yeah. The feet are very truthful, most down to earth, most in contact with the ground. Right? And when you walk, just consciously and meditatively, you are just earthing this static into mind. And I have found a very helpful practice as well, because I walk every morning when I get up. In Ireland, the Latin word for Ireland is Hibernia. The ancient Romans called it Hibernia, which means the land of winter. Yeah, and they weren't joking about that. It was pretty accurate. So for a lot of the year, at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's dark. It's very dark. But I like to walk at that time, first thing in the morning. And there are a lot of trees around. And sometimes I stop walking and I go in and stand among the trees in the darkness. And I begin to feel after a minute or two that I almost am one of them. That I'm rooted to the ground like the trees, only not so well as they. And as you stand there in the darkness and these presences are all around you, you have a sense of how innocent and simple and beautiful their existence is. And they're not telling any lies. And they have no crazy stuff going on in their heads. A little bit of twittering of leaves and all of that, but that's nothing. It's not distracting them from being trees. And they're strong. They're unshakable. Even if you have a very strong posture as you sit in contemplation, a very strong person could push you over. But a tree is really rooted in the ground. And at the same time, look how gentle it is. If there's a puff of wind, the leaves are fluttering. So a tree can teach us a lot of things about meditation, contemplation. Be like a tree. The innocence, the non-judgmental nature of a tree. A tree doesn't say, oh, I don't like these other ones around here. I think I'll go to a better place. The tree will stay there for the rest of its life. And it will make no judgment on its neighbours. And some trees are buckety, crooked and damaged by weather or something in the past. And the others don't look down on them. So it's a beautiful society to be in, to walk and stand among the trees. And standing among God's innocent creatures like that, we learn something about innocence that is possible for us too. We are creatures just like they. We are material creatures too. So what they can do is we can do too. We can do much more, because a human being is a vastly more complex creature than a tree. still from their simplicity we can learn to find simplicity ourselves and in ourselves. And it's not by a donation from somebody else. Nobody gives you that capacity, because you have it already. I remember hearing about a meditation teacher in Dublin in Ireland who was giving an introductory talk, and there was somebody there who was new to it, and he had a kind of adversarial frame of mind. His first instinct was to deny everything. If you said this is black, he'll say it was white. If you said it was white, that was the kind of nature he had. And this teacher was speaking about contemplation, and this fellow says, "I don't buy that. I don't believe it. I don't buy that." And the teacher said, "I'm not selling it." And that response was so direct and so simple and so to the point that man, that adversarial type, began a long journey of search and meditation. It opened the door for him. And I remember Williges Jäger saying in Germany, a teacher, contemplation, a Zen master, whatever they are, won't teach you anything. A teacher, a Zen master, he said, doesn't give you anything, but they will take stuff away. They will take stuff away from you. And that's a great blessing. If somebody has a disposition to be argumentative about everything, even religion, or if they have a disposition to being angry or depressed, or bored by everything, a good teacher would help you to let go of that. But I'm not saying it right. Meditation will show you how to be rid of that. If you just stay with it, it will solve the problems for you without even telling you before or after. But you'll suddenly remember, you'll suddenly notice that somebody who used to annoy you doesn't annoy you anymore. And they're the same person, they haven't changed, but they don't bother you anymore. Do you know what it's very like? If you imagine yourself walking through very thick undergrowth, where you have a lot of plants that have thorns and nettles and stings on them, and they catch on your clothes, and rip you. Yeah, that's the way many people go through life, catching, snagging on everything. And if somebody says good morning, I know a few people, if you say good morning, they say, what's good about it? It's possible to be as cantankerous as that. That's like somebody walking through undergrowth that's full of thorns. How easy it is instead when you can walk through things and not get snagged. Our life becomes beautiful then. Problems and worries and things that pull you down, and you walk through them. You say the worst might happen. Maybe it's not magic. You're not saying the worst thing will ever happen. You're saying even if it happens, God is God. The gift of contemplation is given. Our inner being is given. Our deepest nature is that we are Christ's body. The Buddhists talk about the Buddha mind and the Buddha nature. Christians have every right to talk about the Christ nature, because St. Paul taught over and over in his letters that we are Christ's body. That's our deepest nature. So when we allow all the static and all the thorny stuff in our mind to go away like traffic, what we have left, what below it, is the Christ nature. You are one with Christ at that level. And I like to put it this way, you are looking out through his eyes. You're not looking at him, you're looking out through his eyes, because you are inside his being, looking out, which is the main thing we have to say to one another as Christians, I feel. Our nature is the Christ nature. And if we can allow all that superstructure of torment and self-flagellation and all the rest to move as traffic should, we discover who we truly are. And that's not a gift from any teacher, it's a gift of God. It's the incarnation. We are Christ's body, and nothing can shake us in the end. Is that long enough? So praise God, and I hope that you'll have 1,000 years of this meeting here in this place. It'll have to be enlarged, no doubt, because everything is growing riotously here. In this country, my impression is everything grows. Nature, movements, buildings, everything is growing, because you've seen a very youthful country. And even geologically, and looking at the mountains, they look young. You know, mountains are like people. When they've been around a long time, they begin to look like this, round backs on them. The mountains in Ireland are all curved like that, curved. But here they're jagged and they're pointy. You can see it's a young country, and you have a youthful spirit, and it's beautiful to see, and it's very invigorating for an old man like myself to get an injection of that, even if it's only for 6 weeks. So thank you. God bless.